All right, welcome back. Episode 5. We're doing a lot today. We are discovering arrays. An array is a way to manage groups of numbers or lists of numbers. And we're doing some very simple code organization, and we're doing more with graphics. So a lot going on today. Go ahead and open up your Chrome browser and go to DevTools, and let's get started. Let's say you wanted to work with several numbers. Let's say 3. So you might have number 0, and we'll make that 7. Number 1, we'll make it 8. And number 2, which will make 9. So working with 3 numbers, we could create 3 variables, and then we could console log them out. And this is okay, but what if you had like 1,000 numbers? This approach wouldn't really work very well. We use something called an array to work with sets of numbers. So we're going to create an array. It's a variable, nums equals, then you do an open bracket, put your numbers separated by commas, and then a close bracket. Okay, so now all of those numbers are in nums. Now if we console.log nums, bracket 0, nums bracket 1, and nums bracket 2, you can see we get the same result. What if we just console.log nums? Same result, sort of, but it shows the brackets. I wonder if there's a way we could do this without the brackets and without typing out every single one. We could do console.log, and we're going to use a method. It's kind of like a function called join. So nums.join. And then we have to tell it, what do we want to join it with? A space. So you put a space character in. And that gives us the same thing as logging them out one by one. That was pretty confusing, right? Let's do the same thing, but with strings. When a string has only length of 1, it's called a character. So we have 3 characters in ARR. The indexes are going to be 0, 1, and 2 for A, B, and C. So what happens if we try to access index 3? There's nothing there, right? So we get undefined. But guess what? We can actually set it. So if we go ARR3, we can set that to D. And then when we console.log the array out again, now D is in there. Okay, what if we try to set one way out there, like at 10? So we have 0, 1, 2, and 3, but now we just set 10. So look, it's got these 6 empty slots that it inserts for us in between. And now if we join this array with a space, we get a string of A space, B space, C space, D space, 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 G. I want to make sure you caught what I just said. Join turns an array into a string. That's important for later. I want to show you another way to create an array. We can actually create an array with a given length using the array constructor. This is called a constructor. So we're going to say, let's make an array with 5 slots in it. And they're all empty. So when I actually try to look at them, it just says undefined for everything. Now there's something else we can do. When we use this method, we can actually pre-fill the array. So I'm going to do array constructor. I'll send it 5. And then we'll say dot fill. And I want to fill it with x's. So look at that. I have an array, length of 5, full of x's. Now when I join this, which converts it to a string, and I'm joining it on space, you see I get x space, x space, x space, etc. Remember this because we'll be using this when we do some graphics later on. I want to switch gears for a minute and show you a better place to store this add box function. There's a tab called Sources, and there's a sub-tab called Snippets. And you can save code in here so that it doesn't disappear when you restart your computer or close your browser. So we're going to add a new snippet. We're going to call it add box. And then we're going to paste our code here from the console. Now do Command S on Mac to save it, and maybe Control S on PC to save it. So now look, if you restart your browser and you try to run AddBox, it doesn't know what it is anymore. But you can just go over to Sources and run that snippet. And now, when you try to run AddBox, it knows what it is. So we should keep our functions and sources snippets from now on. Sources snippets. The way AddBox works right now is it just puts one below the other every time you run it. Down, down, down. That's not really what I want. Let's make it a little better. We're going to make it so the function can be called with an X parameter. And based on how it's called, we can move the box or place it in a different place. So to be able to move it, we have to set a new style called position absolute. This will allow us to put it anywhere we want. Now, we're going to set the left position based on the number that's sent into the function. You'll see how all this works together in just a minute. It's 40 wide, so we're going to make the position a multiple of 40. And then we have to do plus px, so the browser knows that we're dealing in pixels. Okay, let's go ahead and see what happens. So I'm going to switch back over to the console, and I'm going to run it. It seems to have forgotten about it. Let's run the snippet again, and then go back to the console and try to run it again. Okay, cool, we have a little box. Let's try running it with the new parameter. Okay, it moved to the right, but the first one's not lined up right. Maybe it's because for the first one I didn't actually send a number in. Let's modify it so that it always receives a number even if the programmer forgets to send one. So let's go to sources and see where it says add box X. We can actually make X default to a value. So if they forget to send it, it will be 0. Okay. Let's try it again. We're going to run our script, our snippet, add box. Okay. Now if we do add box 1, see how it lines up now? Perfect. Okay. We're adding boxes to the body, but it's kind of ugly. Wouldn't it be better if it was centered and in some kind of containing box? So let's create a container. It's going to be another div. Notice that I'm doing this editing in the add box snippet, not in console anymore. Let's set the width to be a multiple of 40 since the boxes are 40. So it can be 20 boxes wide and 1 box tall, because the boxes are 40 tall. Let's go ahead and put a border on it so we can actually see this thing. And we'll make it blue. Whoops, blue. There we go. And let's go ahead and add this containing box to the body. Okay. Now, for the smaller boxes to go into this containing box, we're going to have to set this position to relative. And that has to do with coordinate systems Don't worry about it. Just do it. We can talk about it later. Okay. Now, instead of adding boxes to document.body, let's add the boxes to our new container. I'm going to hit Command S to save and watch what happens when I run it with play. Oh, there it is. You see that big thing at the top? That's our container. And now if we add boxes, they will go inside the container. And the container is inside the body. Okay, but, okay. 19 is the biggest. What if we go like 25? Okay, it goes outside. Maybe we should fix that later. So you can't do that. Let's go ahead and go to the Elements tab and see what's actually in the browser. So you can see we have body, we can expand it. There's only one thing now. That's our container. If you expand the container, you can see all the little boxes. Now look, when I hover over these boxes, it actually highlights them above where they're rendered. Look on the right. These are the styles. Let's add a new one. This is the style for the container. We're going to do margin auto. And look what happens. Now it's centered. Okay. Let's go back to our little script we wrote. And let's make it so that it centers it when we run this script, this snippet. Container.style.margin equals auto. Okay. That was intense. Make sure that you understand what we did today. It's really not difficult, but you have to take the time to do each step and fight through all the problems that you're going to encounter trying to get it to work. Once you get it to work, and maybe get it to work twice, you'll see that it's really not that difficult. It'll start to stick in your brain. I don't know if you can see where we're going with this, but I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. So stay tuned, and we're going to add more pieces to whatever it is we're building in the next episode.